20. Emotional hoards and hidden regrets. The reset. Granny, finally let go of after 60. You know what's heavier than a closet full of old clothes? A heart full of things you've been carrying for decades that you never needed to hold on to in the first place. I'm the reset granny, and today I'm sharing 20 emotional hoards and hidden regrets I finally let go of after 60. In this video, you'll discover 20 things I held on to for far too long. Guilt, shame, old stories, broken promises to myself. Each one weighed me down in ways I didn't realize until I released them. I'll walk you through each one honestly, so you can see yourself in my story. And by the end, you might find the courage to release a few of your own. The last 5 on this list? Those are the ones that changed everything. They're the regrets that kept me stuck the longest, and the ones that, when I finally let them go, gave me back my peace. For years, I thought being a good person meant remembering everything, every mistake, every time I fell short, every opportunity I missed. I carried apologies I never gave, dreams I never chased, words I should have said but didn't. I didn't call it hoarding. I called it being responsible, being thoughtful. But the truth, I was just afraid. Afraid that letting go meant I didn't care. Afraid that moving on meant I was selfish, so I stayed stuck, carrying invisible weight, feeling tired for no reason, wondering why peace felt so far away. Let me take you back to a moment that woke me up. I was cleaning out my attic one afternoon, boxes untouched for 20 years. Buried beneath old papers and faded photographs, I found a journal from my 40s. I sat down and read. Page after page of worry, regret, self-criticism, things I was ashamed of. And here's what hit me. None of it mattered anymore. The people I thought were judging me, they'd moved on. The mistakes I replayed, no one else remembered them. The dreams I mourned, new ones had quietly taken their place. I'd been carrying a museum of pain no one asked me to keep. That's when I realized emotional hoarding is real, and just as suffocating as physical clutter. So I made a list, and one by one, I let them go. Here are the 20 emotional hoards and hidden regrets I finally released after 60. 1. The belief that I had to earn rest. For decades, I thought rest was something you earned after a long day of being useful. I'd push through exhaustion, ignore my body's signals, and feel guilty every time I sat down before everything was done. Even on weekends, I couldn't truly relax. There was always one more task, one more chore, one more thing that needed my attention. I wore my exhaustion like a badge of honor, believing that being tired meant I was doing enough. I finally learned, rest is a right, not a prize. Your body doesn't owe you productivity to deserve care. You're allowed to rest simply because you're human. Now I rest without apology, and I sleep better because of it. I've learned that resting actually makes me more present and capable when I do engage with life. It's not laziness, it's wisdom. My body whispers when it needs rest. I used to ignore those whispers until they became screams. Now I listen early. I take naps without guilt. I sit in my garden without a to-do list. I let myself be still. And in that stillness, I found a peace I never knew existed when I was constantly moving. 2. Guilt over saying no. I spent years apologizing for protecting my peace. Every time I turned down an invitation, a favor, or a request, I'd follow it with a long explanation, trying to justify why I couldn't say yes. I'd feel guilty for days afterward, wondering if I disappointed someone or if they thought less of me. I'd rehearse my excuses, making sure they sounded legitimate enough. I feared being seen as selfish, unhelpful, or uncaring. Now I know no is a complete sentence. You don't owe anyone a dissertation on why you're choosing yourself. Saying no to others often means saying yes to your own well-being. And that's not selfish. That's survival. The people who truly care about you will understand. The ones who don't weren't respecting your boundaries anyway. I've learned that every yes to something I don't want is a no to something I do want. Every time I say yes out of guilt, I'm saying no to my peace, my energy, my joy. Now when I say no, I say it kindly but firmly. No, that doesn't work for me. No, I'm not available. No, thank you. And then I stop talking. No explanation, no apology, just honest boundaries. And you know what? The world didn't end. People adjusted, and the ones who mattered stayed. 3. The need to be liked by everyone. I exhausted myself trying to please people who didn't even notice. I'd twist myself into shapes I didn't recognize, just to avoid disappointment or criticism. I monitored my words, edited my opinions, and hid parts of myself that I thought others might not accept. At gatherings, I'd agree with whoever was speaking, even when I disagreed inside. I'd laugh at jokes that weren't funny. I'd compliment things I didn't admire. I became a mirror, reflecting back what I thought people wanted to see, instead of showing who I actually was. Now I'd rather be respected than liked, because people who truly value you will appreciate your honesty more than your people-pleasing. And the ones who don't? They were never your people to begin with. I've learned that being authentic attracts the right people and repels the wrong ones. And that's exactly how it should be. When I stopped performing, something beautiful happened. Some people left, but the ones who stayed, they stayed for the real me, not the version I was pretending to be. Those relationships are deeper, richer, more nourishing. I'd rather have 5 friends who know my truth than 50 who only know my mask. 4. Resentment toward people who hurt me. Holding on to anger was like drinking poison and expecting them to feel it. I replayed old conversations, imagined confrontations, and kept a mental list of every wrong done to me. I thought my resentment was holding them accountable, but really, it was just holding me hostage. I'd lie awake at night rehearsing what I should have said. I'd carry their voices in my head, letting them criticize me years after the relationship ended. I gave them free rent in my mind. Forgiveness set me free, not them. It didn't mean what they did was okay. It meant I refused to let their actions rent space in my heart anymore. Letting go of resentment gave me back my peace. Some people never apologized. Some never even knew they hurt me. But I forgave them anyway, because I deserved freedom more than they deserved my anger. Forgiveness wasn't a gift to them. It was a gift to myself. It was taking back my power. It was saying, you don't get to live in my head anymore. You don't get to steal my joy. What you did was wrong, but I'm not carrying it another day. And when I finally let it go, I felt lighter than I had in years. 5. The fantasy of a perfect family. I grieved the family I wished I had, instead of loving the one I have. I compared my holidays to magazine covers, my relationships to TV shows, and my reality to someone else's highlight reel. I mourned the family dinners that weren't Norman Rockwell paintings, the siblings who weren't close, the traditions that fell apart. Acceptance brought me peace. My family is messy, complicated, and imperfect. But they're mine. And when I stopped mourning what wasn't, I finally saw what was, and it was enough. We have our own kind of love. It doesn't look like anyone else's, and that's okay. 6. Shame over my body. I wasted decades hating my reflection. I criticized every wrinkle, every scar, every pound. I avoided mirrors and photographs. I dressed to hide instead of to express. I believed the lie that my body was something to be fixed, improved, or apologized for. Now I honor this body for carrying me through every season of life. It gave birth. It healed from illness. It held my grandchildren. It survived loss and still wakes up every morning. My body deserves gratitude, not shame. Every mark tells a story. Every change is evidence that I lived. I'm done treating my body like an enemy. It's been my most faithful companion. 7. Regret over the career I didn't pursue. I mourned a path I never took. I replayed the what-ifs and tortured myself with alternate versions of my life where I was braver, bolder, more ambitious. I watched others achieve what I once dreamed of and felt like I wasted my potential. But the life I built, it was beautiful too. I raised children who are kind. I built a home full of love. I touched lives in quiet ways. Not every dream needs to be chased. Some are just signs pointing you toward who you were always meant to become. And sometimes the path you didn't take would have led you away from the blessings you can't imagine living without. 8. The belief that I should have been a better mother. I replayed every mistake. Every time I lost my temper. Every time I was too tired to listen. Every time I said the wrong thing or made the wrong choice. I carried a mental catalogue of failures, convinced I'd damaged my children in ways I couldn't repair. But my children grew up strong and kind. I did enough. They don't remember the moments I obsess over. They remember being loved. And that's what mattered most. Perfect mothers don't exist. Present mothers do. And I was there, through every scraped knee, every heartbreak, every triumph. That counted for something. 9. Holding on to friendships that had faded. Some people are meant for a season, not a lifetime. And that's okay. I used to feel guilty when friendships drifted, like I failed somehow. I'd force conversations that felt strained, maintain connections that no longer nourished either of us, and grieve relationships that had simply run their natural course. But people grow, lives change, and sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let someone go with love, instead of clinging to a connection that no longer fits. It doesn't erase what you once had. It just makes room for what comes next. I'm grateful for what those friendships gave me, and I'm at peace with how they ended. 10. The fear of being judged. I spent so much energy worrying what others thought. I rehearsed conversations. I overanalyzed every interaction. I edited myself constantly, terrified of saying or doing the wrong thing. I lived in a cage of my own making, trying to manage everyone's perception of me. Turns out, they were too busy worrying about themselves. Most people aren't watching you as closely as you think. And the ones who are judging, they're usually unhappy with themselves. Their opinions don't define you. What freedom I found when I realized their judgment says more about them than it does about me. 11. The need to fix everyone. I thought love meant solving people's problems. I jumped in to rescue, advise, and manage everyone else's lives. I carried their burdens like they were mine. I lost sleep over problems that weren't mine to solve. I thought if I just tried harder, I could save everyone from pain. Now I know, sometimes love means letting them find their own way. You can't grow for someone else. And trying to fix people who didn't ask for help only exhausts you and robs them of their own journey. The most loving thing I can do now is believe in their ability to figure it out, to be there without taking over, to support without suffocating. 12. Guilt over taking time for myself. I believed self-care was selfish. Every moment I spent on myself felt like time stolen from someone who needed me more. I put everyone else first, my husband, my children, my parents, my friends, my job. I was last on my own list. If there was any time left over, maybe then I'd rest. But there was never time left over. Now I know it's survival. You can't pour from an empty cup. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish. It's how you stay strong enough to show up for the people you love. Rest, hobbies, quiet moments alone. They're not luxuries. They're necessities. I'm a better wife, mother, friend, and person when I'm not running on empty. 13. The belief that my worth was tied to productivity. I thought I had to earn my place at the table, that my value came from what I accomplished, how much I contributed, how useful I was to others. On days when I didn't achieve much, I felt worthless. I measured my days by my to-do lists and my identity by my output. Now I know I belong simply because I exist. Your worth isn't measured by your output. You don't have to prove you deserve love, rest, or respect. You're valuable because you're here. That's enough. Some of my most meaningful days have been the ones where I did nothing but sit in the sun and breathe. Productivity doesn't define me. My humanity does. 14. Regret over money I didn't save. I beat myself up for financial mistakes. Every impulse purchase, every missed opportunity, every decision I wish I'd made differently. I carried shame over not being smarter with money. I compared myself to people who seemed more financially secure and felt like I'd failed at adulting. But I survived. I adapted. I'm still here. Life isn't a spreadsheet. You made the best choices you could with what you knew at the time. And despite it all, you're still standing. That's worth more than any savings account. Yes, I could have done things differently, but I also created memories, helped people, and lived a full life. Money is important, but it's not everything. 15. The need to stay quiet to keep the peace. I swallowed my voice to avoid conflict. I smiled when I wanted to scream. I agreed when I wanted to object. I kept quiet to make others comfortable, even when it made me miserable. I believed that being agreeable was the same as being loving, that speaking up was aggressive or selfish. Now I speak my truth gently but firmly. Peace built on silence isn't real peace. It's resentment in disguise. Speaking up doesn't make you difficult, it makes you honest, and the people who matter will respect you for it. I've learned that real peace comes from honest communication, not from swallowing your truth to avoid discomfort. 16. Resentment toward my younger self. I blamed her for not knowing better. I criticized every mistake she made, every opportunity she missed, every time she chose wrong. I looked back at photos of my younger self and felt angry at her for not being wiser, stronger, braver. I treated her like an enemy who ruined my life. Now I hold her with compassion. She did the best she could. She was learning. She was scared. She was trying to survive. She deserves grace, not punishment. Forgiving your younger self is one of the most healing things you can do. She didn't have the wisdom I have now. She was doing her best with what she knew. And because of her, I'm here. I owe her kindness, not criticism. 17. The belief that I missed my chance. I thought my best years were behind me. That life was something that happened in your 20s, 30s, maybe 40s, and after that, you were just coasting toward the end. I believed the lie that aging meant decline, not growth, that my dreams had expiration dates that had already passed. Turns out, the best ones are happening right now. Every year has taught me something. Every season has brought new gifts. I'm wiser, kinder, freer than I've ever been. My life didn't peak in my youth. It's blooming right now. I've discovered new passions, deeper relationships, and a confidence I never had when I was younger. This chapter is rich with possibility. 18. Guilt over putting a loved one in care. I carried the weight of that decision for years. I replayed it over and over, wondering if I was selfish, if I gave up too soon, if I failed them. I felt like I broke a promise, like I abandoned someone who depended on me. The guilt was crushing. But I chose love over martyrdom, and that was brave. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is admit you can't do it alone. Caring for someone doesn't mean destroying yourself in the process. You did what was best for both of you. Professional care gave them safety and dignity, and it gave you the ability to be their family again, not just their caregiver. That decision took courage, not cowardice. 19. The need to keep toxic family close out of obligation. Blood doesn't justify harm. I stayed in relationships that drained me, hurt me, disrespected me, because I thought I had to, because they were family, because that's what you're supposed to do. I endured criticism, manipulation, and disrespect because I believed family loyalty meant accepting abuse. I chose peace over proximity. Family isn't just about DNA, it's about love, respect, and safety. And if someone can't offer that, you're allowed to love them from a distance, or not at all. Setting boundaries with family doesn't make you cold or ungrateful. It makes you healthy. You can honor your roots without watering dead branches. 20. The belief that it's too late to start over. This one almost broke me. I thought my life was set, that the decisions I made decades ago locked me into a path I couldn't change, that reinvention was for the young, that I'd missed my window for new beginnings, new dreams, new versions of myself. Until I realized every single day is a chance to begin again. You can change your mind. You can try something new. You can pivot, restart, rebuild. Age doesn't disqualify you from joy, growth, or second chances. It's never too late to become who you were always meant to be. Some of the most beautiful transformations happen in the second half of life, and I'm living proof. Here's what I didn't expect when I started letting go. I didn't lose myself. I found myself. All those years I thought my pain made me who I was, that my guilt kept me humble, that my regrets kept me grounded. But the truth, they just kept me small. The real me, the woman I was always meant to be, she was buried underneath all that weight. And when I finally set it down, she stood up, lighter, freer, ready. That's Granny's secret. You're not your mistakes. You're not your regrets. You're not the stories you've been telling yourself for decades. You're the person who gets to choose right now, today, what you carry forward and what you leave behind. It's been 3 years since I made that list, and I can honestly say I sleep better, I laugh easier, I'm kinder to myself. I still have hard days, but they don't define me anymore. I've stopped rehearsing old arguments in my head. I've stopped apologizing for taking up space. I've stopped waiting for permission to live fully. And the people around me, they noticed. My daughter said I seem lighter. My neighbor said I smile more. My doctor said my blood pressure dropped. Turns out emotional clutter affects more than just your mind. It affects your body, your relationships, your joy. Letting go didn't make me forget. It made me free. If you're carrying even one thing from this list, I want you to know you don't have to hold it anymore. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to decide. Today, I choose peace over guilt, freedom over fear, myself over the story I've been telling for too long. Give this video a thumbs up if it resonated with you. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. And subscribe to the Senior Reset, because Granny's just getting started. Life after 60 isn't the end. It's the lightest, freest chapter yet.